$25 million per year over 10 years. That's the amount that House Bill 447 says will be invested in the Florida Keys. Here to discuss the bill is Representative Holly Raschein from the 120th Legislative District. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So we're talking specifically about the Florida Keys Stewardship Act, and that's where all this money will go right to the Florida Keys, or that's what's proposed. Tell me what all of this money is needed for.
Well, Candace, the bill is actually broken up into two parts. The first part is $20 million for water projects. We are in the process of finishing up one of our mandated projects, and that is to completely sewer the Florida Keys. So from Key Largo to Key West, we're putting in a centralized sewer system, and that project is actually topping off to be just about $1 billion. Now that we're rounding that one down, we've got to turn our attention to stormwater, which again, given the topography of the islands, our stormwater needs are very, very different than other areas of Florida. Again, very expensive. And we have about 311 canals within the county that do not meet state water quality standards. So we've started a pilot program locally to examine techniques, technology in terms of cleaning up the canals. And so that funding will also go towards canal restoration.
And in terms of the Florida Keys specifically, what's going on there in terms of why it needs so much attention?
Well, we are an area of critical state concern. Actually, Monroe County is its separate area of critical state concern, and then of course the city of Key West is its own individual area of critical state concern. And so we operate just a little bit differently than other counties in the state. And the Administration Commission, that's the governor and the cabinet, are kind of the overseers. The Department of Economic Opportunity tells us basically every year how many permits we can get. They keep tabs on how we're doing with our wastewater plan. Are we implementing a sound land acquisition program? Things like that. And so we are just kind of a different animal than other areas. And state leaders have been talking about comprehensive water plans for the Springs, the Northern Everglades, the Central Florida Water Initiative, and we too have just as unique needs as those other areas of the state. So we thought all the locales and the local governments and the stakeholders thought it would be a good idea to have our own bill this year.
So in terms of these monies, if they're used and all of these changes are made and all the land is acquired that you want acquired, how will it affect the local population?
Well, we have a finite amount of, talking about land acquisition, we have a finite amount of building permits that can be issued in the Keys. We obviously have one highway that connects us to the mainland, so a lot of our development and our permits are tied to our hurricane evacuation time. We are required by the state to evacuate all residents in 24 hours. So we can't overdevelop. We can't, there's a limited amount of people who can actually live in the Keys that we can get out safely if they're, in the event that there is a hurricane.
And what are the types of projects, land areas that you're actually trying to acquire?
Well, I think we really want to focus on the most environmentally sensitive lands first. And so there was $20 million for water, and there's $5 million for land acquisition. And we want to, again, focus on the most environmentally sensitive land in the Keys. And there are a number of lots that probably will never ever be able to be built on. We want to take those off the tax rolls. Then there's the Tier 2 lands. They're slightly environmentally sensitive, but they're still buildable. And then of course there's the Tier 3 parcels, and those are the ones that are really going to hurt the county and the state in terms of litigation. If at the end of the day when our permits run out, we're still going to, there's going to be property owners that are going to, be holding the bag saying,
right,
I can't build on my land. What?
Yeah,
so
taking my property.
That's what all of these, all of the dollars and all of the neat programs that the state is working with us on go towards.
And in terms of the worst case scenario, if you don't get this money, it's a lot of money. What are the consequences?
Well, often it falls on the backs of only 74,000 permanent residents. In terms of wastewater, the average cost of out-of-pocket to a homeowner is $19,000. And so we're trying to reduce the amount of money on behalf of the taxpayer. We are an area of critical state concern. That means the state is our partner, so some state resources would be super helpful.
All right, well, I want to thank you so much for giving us that information. Have to have you back for an update. Good to see you.
Can't wait, thanks.
All right, I'm Candace Kelly, and we've been talking to Representative Holly Raschein on a special edition of Comcast Newsmakers from the state capitol in Tallahassee, Florida.